Hello, and welcome. The stories we share here are windows into the human heart. They are raw, they are real, and they are often difficult, but they all carry a lesson. Today's story is about a young man whose anger was a wildfire, and the father who had to walk into the flames to save him. If this story resonates with you, please subscribe and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Now, let us begin. The silence in the Miller household that evening was a fragile, delicate thing, easily broken. 18-year-old Ben slammed the front door behind him, the sound of violent crack that shattered the peace. His face was a thundercloud, his shoulders were tense, and he moved through the house like a storm front, his every footstep a drumbeat of rage. His mother, sitting in the living room, looked up from her book, her expression weary. She had seen this storm before. It had been brewing for months. Ben, a talented soccer player who had been benched for the season due to a knee injury, was lost. His identity, so long tied to his athletic prowess, had been stolen from him, and he was replacing it with a bitter, simmering anger that he unleashed on the people who loved him most. "Ben," she said softly, "how was your physical therapy session? How do you think it was?" He snapped, throwing his keys onto the antique wooden entryway table with a loud clatter. It was a waste of time, just like everything else. His mother flinched at his tone but kept her voice gentle. "It takes time to heal, sweetheart. You have to be patient." "Patient?" He laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. "Patience is for people who have something to wait for. My season is over. My scholarship chances are gone. It's all gone. So, don't talk to me about patience." At that moment, his father, Mr. Miller, walked in from the kitchen. He was a quiet, steady man who had been watching his son's descent into anger with a growing sense of dread. "That's enough, Ben," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Your mother is not your punching bag." "Oh, here we go," Ben sneered, turning on his father. "Saint David, protector of the realm, you have no idea what I'm going through. You've never failed at anything in your life." "Everyone fails, son," his father replied evenly. "The measure of a man is how he gets back up." The well-meaning advice was the final spark. Ben's face contorted with a rage that was terrifying to behold. "Get back up? I can't even run. While you're sitting here in your perfect little life, mine is falling apart. You don't get it. You don't get anything." He was pacing now, a caged animal looking for a way to vent the unbearable pressure inside him. His eyes landed on the mantelpiece above the fireplace. On it sat a delicate, hand-painted porcelain vase. It was a family heirloom, a wedding gift to his parents from his late grandmother. It was his mother's most treasured possession. In a single, fluid, and horrifying motion, he grabbed the vase and hurled it against the stone hearth. It exploded. The sound was like a gunshot in the quiet room. 1,000 tiny, irreplaceable pieces of their family's history rained down onto the floor. His mother let out a small, wounded gasp, her hand flying to her mouth. The storm in Ben had finally broken, and it had shattered the most beautiful thing in the house. He stood there, chest heaving, the red mist of his rage beginning to clear, replaced by the dawning, sickening horror of what he had just done. His father didn't move. He didn't shout. He just looked at the glittering shards of porcelain on the floor, then at his wife's tear-streaked face, and then at his son. His expression was one of profound, cold, and absolute resolve. The time for patience was over. "Go to your room, Ben," he said, his voice a low, dangerous whisper that was more terrifying than any yell. "Now." Ben, his hands trembling, his anger finally extinguished by the sheer magnitude of his transgression, turned and walked upstairs, the crunch of broken porcelain under his boots the only sound in the house. He had just declared war on his own family, and he was about to face the consequences. Ben lay on his bed, the adrenaline of his rage replaced by a hollow, ringing shame. He heard his father's voice downstairs, speaking in low, comforting tones to his mother. He heard the quiet sweep of a dustpan, the sound of their shared history being swept into a pile of ruin. Each sound was a fresh stab of guilt. An hour later, his father appeared in the doorway. He was holding a small, empty box. "This can never be replaced," he said, his voice quiet and heavy with a grief that went beyond the broken vase. "You took a beautiful thing, and in a moment of selfish anger, you turned it into garbage. That is what your rage does, Ben. It destroys." He sat down on the edge of the bed. "Your mother has gone to stay with your aunt for the night. She is too heartbroken to even look at you right now." The words were a punch to the gut. Ben began to cry, the silent, racking sobs of a young man who has finally understood the depth of the pain he has caused. This can't go on, his father continued. This anger is a poison, and it is killing your spirit. So, the rules of this house are changing. Your old life, the one where you were allowed to nurse your anger in private, is over. We are going to fix this together, but it is going to be hard. The punishment was not what Ben expected. It was not a grounding. It was a complete and total restructuring of his life, a regimen designed not to penalize, but to heal. First, his father said, you will clean up every last piece of that vase. Then, you will take the pieces, and you will begin to put them back together. I don't care if it takes you a month. You will sit at that kitchen table every night with glue and with patience, and you will confront the damage you have done. It will never be perfect again. You need to understand that. Second, he continued, your anger needs an outlet, a purpose. The punching bag is not enough. You will wake up with me at a.m. every morning. You will run with me. We will run until the rage is replaced by exhaustion. And then, after, you will sit with me, and we will talk. No more silence. And third, he said, his voice now firm with a different kind of authority, I see the way you look at yourself at your knee. You see a broken athlete. You have forgotten what it means to be part of a team. So, for the rest of this season, you will be at every single one of your team's practices and games. You will not play. You will be the assistant to the equipment manager. You will fill the water bottles. You will carry the gear. You will support the team you feel you have lost. You will learn to be a part of something again, even if you can't be its star. The weeks that followed were the most difficult and transformative of Ben's life. The early morning runs were brutal, his father pushing him until his lungs burned and his legs ached. But after each run, they would sit on the porch in the cool morning air, and for the first time, Ben talked. He talked about his fear, his loss of identity, his jealousy of his teammates, and his father listened. The evenings were a slow, painstaking meditation. He sat at the kitchen table for hours, patiently gluing the tiny, sharp pieces of the porcelain vase back together. It was a frustrating, impossible task. But as the familiar shape slowly began to re-emerge from the chaos, he felt a strange sense of peace. He was not just fixing the vase. He was piecing himself back together. To the soccer field. The humiliation was intense at first. He, the former star player, was now hauling bags of balls and folding jerseys. But as he watched his friends play, his bitterness began to fade, replaced by a genuine desire for them to win. He started to cheer, to offer advice, to be a teammate from the sidelines. One afternoon, after a tough loss, his team captain came over and sat beside him on the bench. It's not the same without you out there, man, he said. But it's good having you here. The turning point came a month after the incident. Ben had finally glued the last piece of the vase into place. It was a scarred, fractured version of its former self, a web of golden glue lines tracing its history of being broken and repaired. He presented it to his mother, who had returned home, their relationship still fragile and quiet. She took the vase, her fingers tracing the cracks. It's not perfect, she whispered, tears in her eyes. No, Ben said, his voice thick with emotion. But it's whole. She looked up at him, and for the first time in a month, she gave him a real, warm smile. Yes, she said, it is. That night, Ben sat on his bed, the silence of the house no longer a threat, but a comfort. The rage that had once consumed him had been burned away by the hard work of running, of rebuilding, and of reconnecting. He had learned that the most profound lessons don't come from the shattering, but from the slow, patient, and loving work of putting the pieces back together.